Every year, as we move into the spring real estate market, people wonder what is going to happen to housing prices. Well, the good news is the experts do not think we are heading for a housing crash. But why? How do you know? What's the underlying reason for this? In the housing crash of 2008, there was all sorts of bad loans written. Now it is much harder to get a loan. You actually have to be qualified to make the payments on the loan. And that's a good thing because if you can afford to make the payment, you can afford to stay in the house. What happened back then was people got in on a kind of falsified loan. They couldn't make the payments, they got behind on the mortgage, and they were forced to sell. A lot of people were forced to sell at the same time, flooding the market with homes and driving the prices down. That's not happening now. So people who are in homes can afford to stay there, and they will stay there unless something happens that makes them move. But not a lot is happening that makes them move. There's always the few consistent things: death, divorce, job change, having a baby. Those types of things are typically reasons people might choose to relocate, but oftentimes they don't have to. Here in Seattle, we have a very stable economic base, lots of variety here. If you or your spouse lose your job, chances are you can find another job. The fact of the matter is, we do not have very many homes for sale right now, largely because interest rates are a little bit higher than they have been. And so people are, if they don't have to move, they're not choosing to move, they're staying where they are. This creates a low supply of houses, which makes it unlikely that housing prices will drop. Another good thing about today's market is that people are not over leveraged. In the past, people owned a home, they saw the value shoot up like a rocket, and they got into those home equity lines of credit where they were pulling out money like crazy, buying a boat, buying a vacation home, spending, paying down credit card debt, all that kinds of things. People don't seem to be doing that right now. They're not over leveraging their homes. They're paying it down and going for the extra security that comes with having a lot of equity in the property. Right now, the equity that people could tap but haven't is at an all-time high because they bought when prices were low and they've seen a big run up in values over the last couple of years. Even though that softened when interest rate changes, it didn't go away altogether. Even though you might be concerned that some people bought at the peak of the market and now housing prices have come down a little bit, only about 1% of the population is actually underwater on their home, meaning that they owe more than what it's worth. So most people, even if they bought at the exact worst time, would have put in, 10% down, 20% down, something like that, so that even if prices came down 5%, their mortgage balance is still less than the value of the home, meaning again that they can sell if they want to. They're not stuck. They're not headed to foreclosure. There's not a big downward vicious cycle here. So, not to worry, the market is in good shape. We are not expecting a big downturn or crash like we saw in 2008.